Okay, welcome to A2NewTech, this meetup. I'm David Nesbitt, hosting this week in place of Brian Kelly. So this meetup, since 2009, we've had over 100 meetups. We've had over 300 companies pitch, which is pretty amazing. And right now, over 6,600 members, which is pretty amazing for a technology group in Ann Arbor. Last year we had 60 pitches, and we do this every month on the third Tuesday of the month. So make sure, come back next month, bring your friends. I want to ask a quick poll first, just to kind of get us started and get a sense of who's in the room, especially for newer people. Who in this room has been in Ann Arbor for less than 1 year? Raise your hand. A couple people brand new to the area. Awesome. Welcome. Less than 5 years. Awesome. How about less than 10 years? That's me too. Or more than 10 years? A lot of people. Awesome. So great mix in the room. Chance to meet people who are new to the area, people that are connected to a lot of folks here if you're new and trying to get connected. So why is this meetup important? There's a lot of people that are hatching and developing ideas here in Ann Arbor, especially related to technology and startups. We're not the biggest city in the US, but we have a ton of tech talent here and general talent, and this meetup is a great place for us to come together, figure out what's happening out in the tech community here in Ann Arbor, and to meet the other people that are doing it, like ourselves, who are building and shaping the future of tech here. So this is a really important event. It's one that I've definitely found important in my own career as I've been growing here. And you never know who you're going to bump into here who might shape the next years for you, might be a collaboration partner down the road. So a little backstory about myself. I came to Ann Arbor 10 years ago to do undergrad at U of M, learned a few things, got some student debt. Got jobs in the area, ended up sticking around here and got really involved with a church in the area, Mosaic Church, and eventually found my way to Ann Arbor tech startup Celio, who built higher education software for career preparation. So I did 2.5 years of there in customer management, and then since 2016 now I've been leading sales and customer management for Spellbound, an Ann Arbor startup that does pain and anxiety management tools for children's hospitals. So I've been here for a while in the area in the startup community for about 4 years. Which has been an amazing experience. And kind of a fun fact, I think the first time I ever heard about Spellbound was in this room at one of their pitches at UMich. Before I'd ever thought about working there and knew anything about them, and I heard our CEO, Christina, pitch. So I think that's really kind of illustrates the value of this group. There's a lot of things happening out there, from tiny one-person ideas that are starting to grow or haven't even started growing yet, to larger companies that you hear about that you didn't even know had 50 employees in the area. And there's no way to learn about all of it without coming to events like this and meeting people and making these connections. And so really think this is a valuable event for us in the tech community, one that we should embrace and help to grow. We do have a Slack channel for staying connected throughout the month. So you can go to madein2.com/Slack to sign up for that. You'll find there general announcements about the tech community here, open jobs, other postings, maybe even music recommendations. So a lot of different kinds of things to stay connected throughout the month before we meet back here. There are a number of people that help make this meetup happen. So thankful for those people. I want to say a special thank you to Entrepreneurship Clinic at U of M Law School. Dana Thompson's the founding director of Michigan Law's Entrepreneurship Clinic. A2 Geeks is a nonprofit dedicated to making Southeastern Michigan and Ann Arbor a great place for geeks and creatives to live and work and play. Roger Rayle is here doing video for us, just like every month. Thank you, Roger. With R2 via video, that's right. If you want to hire Roger for this kind of work or any other kind of video work, look him up at R2 Vive. And also to co-organizers of this group, Doug Song, Zach Steinler, Scott Gochi, David Bloom, David Corcoran, Brian Kelly, Brooke Boyle, and more. So these organizers make this event happen, help us curate the presenters, do work behind the scenes. So thank you to all of them for that work that they do. And last but not least, Ann Arbor Spark. They're committed to bringing together organizations and individuals to support the growth of companies and the creation of jobs in the area. They're also kind enough to sponsor our post-event pizza over at Dominic's, so please come join us for some free pizza at Dominic's and make some connections and meet some people afterwards. So like I said, Ann Arbor New Tech is always the third Tuesday of the month. So our next meetup is going to be July 17th, Tuesday. Right now we do have openings for pitches at that July event. So if you want to pitch your company or you know someone else who should pitch, have them send an email to organizers@A2NewTech.org. And kind of a general criteria for those companies who will be curated for these pitches is that, one, you've done some kind of some customer validation, spoken with some prospective customers. That's kind of the baseline. Need to have done that. If you haven't done that for your idea yet, I encourage you to go out there and do that first, and then email us, and I would love to get you up here to pitch. And hopefully you built a prototype, have kind of a basic MVP, minimum viable product, or something you can show when you do your pitch, and that would be ideal for the companies that we have up here pitching. So the agenda tonight, we're going to go till about 8 p.m. here. Like I said, we'll be at Dominic's afterward for pizza, drinks, and so we'll have 5 companies pitching tonight. They're 5-minute pitch and then a 5-minute Q&A afterwards where you can ask questions and engage with them. And then after that, we have a time for community announcements. So if you have some kind of announcement, you're looking for a job, you have an event or a meetup you want to pitch, you are looking for a collaborator or anything else, think about your community announcement now. We'll have a time at the end where you can come up and make that pitch to the group. And a note about the Q&A time with the companies. They're going to be pitching their companies. They prepared these presentations and prepared for this moment in practice. If you have a question and something you want to ask them, please, in that Q&A portion, only ask things in the form of questions. It can be really tempting to want to give feedback, give them ideas. We probably have great ideas for them. That's great. Connect afterwards, maybe, at Dominic's. But make sure that Q&A time is questions that they can actually respond to, something they can give a constructive response to. So something new for me this month, usually Brian has his podcast recommendations. I do listen to podcasts, but not as often. But I love sharing music with people. Anyone else in the room share music? Yes. So that's like one of my love languages. I love that. So here we go. My music recommendation this month is a band called Half Noise. Anyone know Half Noise in the room? Okay, so like successfully got the band that no one heard of. That's great. Half Noise is kind of upbeat pop rock. It's great summer listening, good driving music, but it's not too predictable. Like some of that pop rock stuff fits into a genre that gets a little bit boring. I find it really interesting. This I'd recommend for fans of Portugal the Man or Hippocampus, if you've heard of those bands. But again, great music to check out in the summer. I might not listen to it in the middle of the winter, but really good for right now. Fun fact, it's actually the drummer from Paramore. So if you like Paramore, that's great. If you don't like Paramore, it doesn't really sound like them. So you might actually still like this one. They just came out with a new EP called Flowers at the beginning of May. Recommend checking that out. And again, their band name is Half Noise, one word. Okay, so now for what we're all here for tonight, to hear these pitches. We have a great lineup of 5 different companies tonight in some different areas. And so the first one we have is Salant Innovations and Jason Lee. So come on up, Jason. Salant is the document automation platform for advanced legal documents.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Lee, and I am the founder and CEO of Salant Innovations. Salant Innovations automates the production of legal documents. So the problem is this. Legal drafting is such a time-consuming and repetitive process. I was a lawyer for 8 years, so I know firsthand that the process of generating contracts had been updated in decades. The last time that there was an infusion of technology in this space was back in 1980s and 90s when typewriters were being replaced with software, word processing software. So just to give you a little bit of color, I was a debt lawyer, so I'll give you an example regarding debt. So if the form document calls for one borrower, and the situation actually calls for co-borrowers, so there are 2 borrowers, then somebody has to go into the contract and change the verbs from singular to plural. And that used to be me. So one sleepless night during a transaction that required a lot of all-nighters, I came up with the idea to automate these documents. Now later I found out that I wasn't the first one, nor the only one, but the document automation is the process of generating a document not by typing, not by cutting and pasting, but by making choices. and based on these choices, the underlying contract changes. So you already see examples of this in the real world. LegalZoom, those guys focus on creation of LLC documents. Rocket Lawyer, those guys focus on lease documents and other documents. But where a lot of the resources been poured onto has been for the consumers. And where we like to focus on are for the professionals. The difference is that consumers, they want to be shielded from complexity. They don't want to see the contract, whereas the professionals, they pour over every comma, every period, and that difference in attitude dictates different feature sets and leads to a different product. And the benefits are tremendous. So you shave off at least 80% of time drafting, as much as 95% depending on the type of contract. So something that used to take an entire day, so say 8 hours, can now be done in under an hour. And in law, time is money. I'll show you sort of how it works. So our customers give us their contracts, and we copy and paste it into our server, and we build in the logic. And what does building logic look like? Take a look at section 1.2 in the middle of the screen. It'll say, if LLC state is Delaware, we use the Delaware language. If the LLC state is New York, we use the New York language. And we could do some other cute functions in there. At the top, you see the case, upper, LLC company name. So in a title case, in a header, you always uppercase the document. Now the ironic thing is that I've replaced one type of repetitive work for another, but the difference is that you only have to do it once. So this is what our customer sees when they log in. And what the person had just done is that they had changed the formation state from Delaware to New York, and you see the changes happening in real time and in a red line format. So they see those sort of what has just changed, what were the ramifications of my decisions. And at the top, we have a drop-down menu, limited liability company agreement. So when you make one change and you're making a progress in one document, you're making changes in all the related ancillary documents, because in a transactional setting, documents they don't travel by themselves, they travel in sets. So our revenue model is a simple SaaS model, $50 per month per user, but we charge $100 per hour to do the conversion service. In terms of traction, we were fortunate enough to be part of the Sparks Bootcamp program, and we came in second place and received a commitment of $10,000 in investment. We were also part of the G-Beta pre-accelerator program in Detroit, where we participated in demo day. And as a result of these events, we were able to gather some pilot users. We have a leasing company that has $200 million in annual revenue that's working with us. We automated their lease agreement. They liked it so much. Now we are doing their letter of intent, and beginning next week or so, we'll start automating their merger agreement. And once complete, we believe that they'll be one of the first of its kind. We're working with an Arbor law firm to automate their employment agreements, and a Texas attorney for real estate purchase agreements. And our market size, if everyone, there are over 1 million attorneys in the United States. Every single one of them purchased our software for $50 an hour, $50 per month. We would have a market size of $720 million, but we are focused on solo practitioners, small law firms, and corporations with a legal in-house counsel, which gives us a beachhead market of $500 million. But the real benefit will be when the non-lawyers are able to use this product to complete contracts such as salespeople, and that would increase our total addressable market to $3.5 billion. So my name is Jason Lee, and I was trained as a lawyer at a law firm called Cahill in New York. Alex is our Java programmer. The reason why he's so good at document automation is he was a chief of IT of document automation department in Russia's patent office, and Francisco is our JavaScript programmer. So we are bootstrapping right now, but we could always use connections. So if you know of a company that could use document automation services, please send them our way. Thank you.
Alrighty, questions for Jason? Raise hands. In the back?
you have any exposure if you get something, your software gets something wrong in your document? In
Yeah.
the legal documents?
So that is definitely a concern, and we work out with our customers to make sure that we don't hold any liability, so that they actually review pretty thoroughly and they assume the responsibility. So that's, we cannot, right now at this stage, offer that type of indemnity and such.
Far back.
This is a two-part question. So on the traction slide, you showed green companies. Are those paying customers or are those just free beta testers?
They are pilot customers, they're not paying, so we are pre-revenue.
Okay, and are you guys hoping to work with any federal companies? Because I know that they are very heavy in PDF.
Sorry, which companies?
Federal, like federal government.
No, we haven't explored that channel yet, but perhaps we could talk about it there.
Great. Other questions?
How have you guys been like marketing? Have you like, I mean, to get maybe pilot customers and whatnot, have you just been word of mouth or what have you guys?
Yep, so word of mouth events like this, and our sort of MO is LinkedIn and videos. That's been our sort of primary goal of getting sales calls.
Right here.
Two questions. First, and I'll let you answer after ask these questions. First is, how do you differentiate yourself between from like hot docs, which is a document assembly program focused on product, what you're delivering, and obviously pricing. And then the second question is, after if we submit documents to you, a package of documents, let's say a number of documents related to buying and selling a business, and you reformat them. If we want to use those documents in the future work, we have to subscribe. We'd have to subscribe to you. Is that how it is? That's for the $50.
Correct. We are
We want to use those documents again. We would.
So yeah, we have to purchase a license from us and pay an ongoing fee. And to differentiate from ourselves from Hot Docs is the actual sort of the big company that everybody's trying to get their market share from. They've been around for 20 years, have about 60% of market share. But the main problem with those guys is that they've been reliant on older technology. They require backward compatibility for those years, because the most important asset of document automation is the document that embeds logic. And they can't allow their customers' documents to break, and that prevents them from making very big advances in terms of adapting technology. So one thing that how it manifests itself is a difficulty of making and programming these documents. So Hot Docs is their like certification program. So you have to be specialized in their own programming language to be able to do this. We've simplified it in a much simpler manner.
Thank you.
Question in the back?
Yeah, I had a question and a comment. I'm thinking more along the lines of a law depot, where you have 1 million lawyers, we have 500 million trying to avoid lawyers, no offense to anyone yourself, but, you know, if I'm a landlord in California, I want to get a lease for my house, you have the technology to update it instantly. I'm going to avoid the fees and pay a fair amount to have that access. Have you thought of that as a revenue source?
So we are staying away from mostly the consumer area. So consumers, if we give them the documents and say they're good, then they'll generally accept. The professionals, on the other hand, you know, if we give them the document, they're like, no, I got to use my document. So that's the business model that we have. So we're not here to like produce a document that fits for everybody, because we think that you know, LegalZoom and other existing players are better equipped for that. But right now we are just focused on this sort of smaller niche market for professionals.
Yes.
Perhaps I missed this, but is anything proprietary?
So we use a ton of open source, and we make sure that we don't have any copyleft ones where we have to you know, publish our source code. But there's definitely certain proprietary components. But we rely heavily on open source stuff.
Time for one more question. All right, looks like that's it. Let's give Jason another hand. Our next pitch is Craig Huff here from Minva. Minva is a mobile app that tells customers inside of any big box retailer, like Walmart, Target, or Home Depot, what aisle the product they are looking for is in.
Oh, yeah.
Take it away.
We're got like dead time here. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Craig. I'm the one who really founded it. I'm an MBA student. I'll tell you myself.
My name's Tony King. I'm a student at Clear University with Craig. And yeah, I'm just the vice president for Midland Technologies.
It'll show up in a second.
Gotcha. I'm in my hold on, let's see. Oh, there you go.
I'm trying to refund it. Just to make sure.
I think it was on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, we're extended. All right, I'm in a tech company. I don't know how to work a computer. I like it. Good. All right. So, as I said, introduce yourselves. All right, I'm just going to jump right into it with a problem, a story, see if it's applicable to you at all. So, if you have like a husband, wife, mother, they like send you to the grocery store. They're they give you the list. You go to the grocery store. You walk in there. About a minute after getting in there, you're on the phone. You're like, what is that we needed again? Where's it at? Where's it at? What's going on? How many do we want? And it's confusing, aggravating. People don't like it. Simple. So one of the things that we think is that one of the reasons why e-commerce and Amazon has become so prevalent is because it eliminates that factor. I mean, I can just order something online, do my phone real quickly. 2 days later, it shows up on my front porch. I don't have to go to the store. Don't have to go through the aggravation. It's easy, simple, and one of the reasons why we think Amazon has become so prevalent. So what we have done is we've created a mobile application that can tell customers or users the aisle location of any product in any store. And customers, they love it because it saves them time, it saves them aggravation. They're on the phone, talking to their wives, having that conversation. And retailers, they like it because instead of me pulling up my phone, ordering what I need on Amazon, I can just go to the brick and mortar store and get it there. So, quick little video, kind of elaborate.
The retail industry is huge in the U.S. Annual revenue of just the top 10 retailers hitting $1 trillion mark. Market cap sums reaching well over $1 trillion as well. It would seem that people are in love with retail and shopping. However, this isn't entirely true. Because of things like this, these guys have begun to dominate the retail industry. Customers are sick of lines, having to find someone to ask where something is, having to wander through aisles looking for what they need. This isn't just our opinion either. Countless researchers have stated that 80% of customers are leaving stores empty-handed if they can't find what they're looking for, or if someone isn't there to point them in the right direction. So, when customers leave stores, where do they go? The retail industry needs to act fast before people give up by going to brick and mortar stores altogether. This is where Minva Technologies comes into play. Minva is a free mobile application that knows the aisle location of any product in any large retailer anywhere in the United States. Minva instantaneously pulls the store computer data for whatever store the customer is shopping in, and makes the location of any product in that store available at the touch of just a few buttons. With this program, that customer that once walked out angry and empty-handed now will not. This is the front line of defense to e-commerce, as well as an issue that retailers and customers have dealt with for years. It all starts here.
All right, so jump into some numbers here. So 92% of customers, they cannot find the help that they need in stores. 80% of those customers leaving stores empty-handed if they can't find someone to help. Then 84%, they're leaving more satisfied, and heck, 90% are shopping next time there if they get the help. So obviously, you see the numbers they're there. The companies are cognizant of this, they're cognizant of this. This isn't hidden data, they're very aware of it. So this doesn't work, okay, never mind. All right, got my hopes up. So what they're doing to solve that issue? Well, more employees, more aisle signs, store consulting, and then other store apps, which is most applicable to us. So we're just going to briefly talk about this. So the issue with the other store apps is that they do too many things. They're too crowded, too much going on. Like for example, we got the Walmart app here, has a 3.3 star review, which is subpar. People aren't loving it. They don't like it all that much. All right, so what we do basically remove customer aggravation. I'm not going to bounce around here because we're getting short on time. First thing, biggest thing is lack of employees. So that is real quick, as you saw in the video, you know, search a product. For example, got breadcrumbs up there, boom, instantly tell you what aisle the breadcrumbs are in. Next thing is bouncing back and forth between aisles. So this is kind of a cool feature. So for example, with the breadcrumbs again, if you search it and then you press the like the addition button there, it'll add it to your cart. And the cool thing is when you go to the store, your cart's gonna be like synchronized in order of what the most efficient shopping routine is. So you're not bouncing back and forth between aisles, you get in and out really quickly. Now let's, we can come back to these later on if we need to. So real quick, kind of like what we're looking for. First thing is connections. We need a handful of connections to people in the retail industry, and that's to get a hold of APIs. And APIs is what we use for to pull our data. Next thing, development capital. You know, what's a pitch without asking for money? We got funding for the APIs, funding for the marketing, and then for iOS development. Then last thing I think is most important is just guidance. Any tips, suggestions, any mentoring. I mean, please come up to me afterwards. Love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to hear from you. So, boom, right on the dot. I like it. All right, questions?
Questions from the Midva team.
Yes, sir.
I assume this is from the retailers, but how do you guys make money?
So, skip that slide. So, first thing the one we have implemented right now is we have an affiliation with coupons.com in which we can like promote coupons through their program. So, for example, right here, when we have when someone searches a product that has a coupons applicable to it, for example, we have a search for spam up there, we incorporate that in like the feed, and if they would like to, they can add that to their cart, and when they go to checkout, comes up over this screen over here, in which they're going to have the coupon on their phone at checkout. Cashier scans the coupon, goes away, we make a commission off that. And the commission is actually really generous. It's like anywhere from 25% to 80% of the face value of the coupon. So it's pretty neat. But yeah. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So you mentioned 93% of customers there on that slide leave the store if they can't find the help they need inside the stores. Well, what kind of help does that 93% actually need, and how can you associate that to not finding the specific product?
So yeah, that's rather ambiguous, statistic. That's more for the sake of a pitch. But I mean, that statistic I'd assume would be referring to like if you're just trying on dresses, they don't have the right color, they don't have like the opinion, that probably is contributing to that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that still people they're having trouble finding stuff in stores. Like as he was saying, I worked at Kroger for 5 years, and that's kind of where I like conceived the idea for this by. Is I see countless times husbands, wives, all sorts of people walking around clueless. I mean, it's kind of funny. On like Thanksgiving, for example, they're like the wife sends them to the store. They're on the phone. It's kind of a funny thing to have happen. But yeah, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just curious, how do you see this compared to just grocery pickup services and stuff like that a lot of the grocery stores are starting to do?
Yes, so
that's another solution to it.
Very valid
How does
question.
this play into that?
Yeah, so the thing we found with grocery pickup services, they're very convenient. They work pretty well. A handful of people I've talked to though, they're saying like they spend like an hour going to the store getting their groceries. They spend like 45 minutes going online trying to figure out how to work it, trying to click what they need. So I mean, does it help? Yes, definitely. But you still have a pain factor there, and you also have the fact that it costs money to have the grocery pickup. So that is an issue.
Mr. Craig, I want to add on that. I saw Craig once go to A2NewTech, and that question was asked and it was brought up that the companies that ship are the ones that will use this service because they're the ones time and money. They want to use this sort of faster. I see this being better for the grocery pickup service than as a consumer. Because I have a wife and 4 kids. They'll have to get the longest route to the store, past the beer drinking girls. I'm fine.
I like it.
Other questions? Yes, right here in blue.
So I saw you needed like iOS development money. Does that mean you have something else available now that you can download?
Yes, so on the Android market, we have our MVP is available for Android users. And I mean, if you just type in Minva on the, anywhere on here. But yeah, if you type that into the Android Google Play Store, you should be able to look it up and download it. And I mean, I'd also love to get a feedback on it because we're kind of in the MVP stage, the testing stage, and we really, I mean, could use feedback, could use honest, criticism, and again, anything, we really appreciate it.
Question right here.
So where do you get the mapping information? Where do you find out that the white flower is stored in aisle 13?
Yeah, so we have
inside?
a handful of ways for that. One way is through APIs. So for example, with Walmart right now, we were able to get a hold of their API for like every product in every single one of the stores everywhere. So basically, our computer is Walmart's computer. So we can, everything is updated instantly. If anything moves, aisle locations instantly updated. Real easy, real convenient. Another means of solving that issue we've done previously was we went through and it was for Walmart as well. We went through and scratched like the entire Walmart computer. I mean, like went through and ran an algorithm and pulled everything. Had this massive like 16 gigabyte database, and it wasn't the most ideal, but it worked. And I mean, that was just kind of a first attempt at making it happen. So, anyone else?
Right here, front row.
Does it work for every single store? Like, would it work for Kroger or Meijer, for example?
That's what, so as I said, we're kind of in the MVP stage right now, and we're only functional in Walmart, just for the sake of like the testing. But eventually it will work in all those stores. So that's just a little bit later on down the road.
Okay. Question over here. Wow. Yes.
So what if Walmart develop such an app for its consumers?
What was that?
What if Walmart develop such an app for its consumers?
They do. That's exactly the thing I was saying. So Walmart, if you download the Walmart app, you are able to, it has a very similar function to it. But the issue with the Walmart app, as I was saying, is that there's so much information and so much going on in the app. It's very confusing, and most people don't know about it. So kind of to piggyback on that, as I said, I worked at Kroger for 5 years. It wasn't until my 4th year working at Kroger that I figured I could use like the Kroger app to help me find things for customers. And I mean, I'm an employee there, I didn't know that. Most customers have no idea that exists. So in a way, we're kind of taking advantage of that ignorance factor and helping out in that sense. So.
Time for maybe one more question right here.
Yeah, so it seems like the API availability is crucial. Do all of these big chains have an API that you can use? And what is the pricing model for using those APIs? Is it per user or is it a flat fee?
It is, okay, so they all have APIs that are available. Some of them are hidden though. And the issue with those ones is, that's kind of within my ask. I was saying if anyone has any connections with people that work in retail, like Meijer, for example, and we could talk to them and get a hold of that API. That's what was the first, the ask that we had. As far as pricing goes, it is free. It doesn't cost anything. So APIs is available.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So our next presenter is Nick Otto from Ares Medical. So Ares Medical makes innovative oxygen equipment and accessories. And an interesting fact, Nicholas received his first US patent when he was only 15 years old, and he also has a twin brother.
Hi guys, my name is Nick. I'm the founder and CEO of Ares Medical. We're an Ann Arbor medical device company that's looking to commercialize innovative oxygen equipment and accessories. So, throughout my life, I've really seen the problem associated with using oxygen. Essentially, my uncle, he has COPD and he has to use oxygen. All my grandparents died of COPD, so I've kind of seen throughout my life this huge problem with, lugging around big bulky oxygen tanks and using, nasal cannulas that wrap around your face. And, through talking with pulmonary doctors and other people in this community, I've, very few people actually comply with their oxygen therapy as intended, even though it dramatically extends, your life and your quality of life. And over 96.7% of oxygen users feel lonely because it's very isolating. There's a lot of negative stigma associated with it. And so this causes a lot of problems, essentially. So I've actually, this was actually an accidental invention over here. I've been trying to create a micro-sized medical oxygen concentrator for years. And, you know, after talking to one pulmonary doctor, she told me that, you know, one of her patients tried to hide her nasal cannula by using a pair of glasses, and that was kind of, you know, a light bulb moment where I thought, hey, why don't we produce a pair of eyeglass frames that oxygen flows through to kind of replace this nasal cannula. And so that's what I did, and you can kind of see the difference here. And so essentially we have a technology that, you know, you can have glasses in any style, any form. They're disposable just like the cannula, and we're going to start an Indiegogo campaign soon where we'll be accepting pre-orders for $19.99 a pair. So, and that's kind of the difference. And as I previously mentioned, I've been working on creating a micro-sized medical oxygen concentrator for years, and we built our first one this April of 2018. It was about 1.7 pounds and consumed 8.4 watts of power. It relies on something called ultra-rapid pressure swing absorption. So basically, we use cycles of pressure to, you know, regenerate and absorb in bed to produce this oxygen output. It's the fundamental control system and this pressurization, depressurization technology is what's really innovative, but fundamentally pressure swing absorption is what all oxygen concentrators use. And so we have a new interesting spin on that, and we're producing a lot of great patents related to this that we're looking to license out to all the other companies in this industry to drive down their costs, because we have a lot in terms of pipeline for controls and kind of ways to make oxygenation better with both our pulse dosage and our actual concentrator itself. So it's a big booming market. The COPD is the third leading cause of death in the United States, and there are over 4 million people in the United States alone who use oxygen, mostly in the form of oxygen tanks. And essentially, consumers really want more portable oxygen devices so they can, you know, let's say travel to see their grandkids, go to the grocery store. If you have COPD, you really notice if you're carrying around, you know, even 5 pounds, because it really inhibits you if you have trouble breathing and can't get enough oxygen into your system. So it is a big market, and we're targeting a very specific segment of that, and through a multifaceted strategy of, one, licensing out intellectual property, and two, producing our own concentrator by working with a, you know, contract manufacturer, and kind of, you know, finding a way to get that to market toward the moderate to mild COPD patients. So we're targeting a very specific demographic. And so we have a solid team in place. I'm a Michigan engineer, and we have, you know, 3 other people on our team, and we also have sponsored in the past senior design projects in the mechanical engineering department at the University of Michigan. And so we've already raised our seed round, and so what I'm looking for you guys here today is, you know, connections to other entrepreneurs, and I'd love to discuss with you more after the presentation. Thank you for your time.
Great pitch. You can stay up here extra for
Q&A.
Questions for Nick. Right over here.
2 questions. One, do you have to undergo FDA approval?
The eyeglasses are class 1, so no, but the oxygen concentrator would be a class 2 device, so we would look for a strategic business development partner who could do that, or simply just license our patents so that they can go through that. So we can run a lean operation. So.
And my second part is there active control in the way you dispense oxygen, or is that just open loop?
Yes, we have some patent pending technology involving actually how the oxygen is dispersed in terms of pulse dosage controls. Yes.
What about people who wear eyeglasses? Will they actually be able to get lenses for your eyeglass apparatus?
We were planning to build in functionality for clip-on lenses, but there currently is a significant portion of the oxygen user market who don't actively wear, let's say, prescription glasses, and rather, only wear reading glasses when they're reading. And so that's the segment we're targeting initially, but later we would like to, make clip-on prescription and, sunglasses, because these plastic frames are disposable, just like the nasal cannula, so we feel that will drive adoption.
I think it's an excellent idea with the clip-on lenses.
Oh, okay.
Other questions? Right here.
I have two. First of all, what material are you using, and for the PSA, and how many cycles can it go through before it deactivates?
Do you mean the absorber bed?
Right.
We use a lithium X-type zeolite, and so that's a lumosilicate material, pretty standard for oxygen-producing PSA. We've also produced some innovations involving making, structured absorbents using fibers that is not fundamental for making this successful, but it's something we've already created. But in terms of the ultra-rapid cycles, in the future we could get to thousands of times per second, but I think our limit right now is about 100 hertz. And in fact, one of the main limiting factors was actually, our control system. So with the way we have it set up right now, that prototype can do about 100 hertz, so 100 cycles per second. Most current oxygen concentrators do have a cycle time of once every, 5 seconds or more, some up to 90 seconds, depending on the version. So, yes.
When you were talking about market size, was that combined for the oxygen? Forgive me, I'm not a medical person, but the oxygen condenser and the eyeglasses.
Yeah, it's we estimate that the nasal cannula portion or the oxygen eyeglasses about 200 million, and then the other one's about 1.1 billion in terms of our serviceable addressable market. But most of those calculations are based on PubMed statistics, based on different COPD populations and current oxygen user out there now, who are more likely to adopt the product based on certain demographic features such as age, lifestyle, etc. So, yes.
What is your ask?
My ask is to connect with other entrepreneurs. In terms of immediate needs, we're trying to make a marketing video for the glasses for an Indiegogo campaign. So, and we are looking for engineering talent as well. So,
Do you have any money requirements or capital raises?
No, we do not. We've already completed our seed round. So, but I'm interested in talking with investors who are here. If you would like to speak with me afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Last question? All righty. Good work. Next presenter is Channing Duker from Structure. Structure is the fastest and easiest developer experience for deploying and iterating on web apps and services.
Cool. While I'm setting up, can I get like a show of hands, like who is like a developer? Or okay, and then who is more kind of like an entrepreneur, maybe working in the tech space? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to tailor this, keep it interesting. So Structure is a developer tool. Let's see how that goes. Agree. All right, let's get started. Super cool. So I'm working on a project called Structure, and as was mentioned before, it's the easiest way to build and develop web applications. So who are we? So we're a small team, mainly based out of Ann Arbor. and we're all developers, and we worked at a range of companies, both from like 1 to 2 person teams, startup kind of size, to like very big companies like Apple and Google. And there's a trend we start to see when we look at the developer environment, and it seems very easy to get something working on your computer. You have an idea, you get excited about it, you hack out something, you demo it to someone, it's great, but to actually get that idea into something production ready is actually super complex. And we've all like kind of been through it, and what you end up looking at is like a simple stack, where you have your application code, which does the cool, interesting thing, right? And then you have to think about, well, where do I keep it? What infrastructure provider do I have? Do I have automatic load balancing? Do I need automatic load balancing? Like, where are my networking requirements? All this kind of stuff that's unrelated to the core value proposition that you're giving people. So our idea is like, why even worry about all that stuff? So right now, deploying today, it's slow, it's error prone, it's a confusing environment, and it's very much disliked. A lot of developers will figure out something that works and then never touch it again because it was so painful to set up the first time. And if you want to move fast, if you want to, delight users by responding to their feedback or needs, if you want to get to market the quickest, if you want to move fast and not break things, honestly, it doesn't look like this. I mean, like even the most foundational things like that these cloud hosting providers offer, you have to pour a lot of amounts of energy and resources into setting up. And sure, if you're Netflix and you're transcoding 7 petabytes of Stranger Things, maybe you can stitch 60 of these services together and that will work for you. But for 90%, we believe for 90% of web applications, this is overkill and actually slows you down. So what is structure? Simply, it's one command to deploy a web application. By default, you get high-performance servers, you get security baked in, monitoring, logging. This is sort of the poverty line of development that every app should be over and every app is not. So this is kind of like a zero-thought way to bring apps to a stage where they're ready to compete with any modern app right now. So I have 2 minutes. I also have a short demo. Hopefully Wi-Fi is kind to me. Let's see. So this is structure on the left. What I can do, right now we're focusing on a few languages, but there's no inherent reason why we can't support any language. So I'm just gonna make an app. Let's say it's a personal site. So I'm gonna call it personal space X. We'll call it Python. We'll choose a hobby plan. We'll create your app. You can see your app is building. You have an editor. We don't expect developers to live in a GUI, but it's nice to have a GUI so you know what's going on. We can see this running now, and you can actually visit this. This is fully load balanced, auto scaling website in seconds. We can make a change. Let's see. Let's just return. I don't know. Ducks. We'll deploy that, save the file, reload the file, rebuild it. When it finishes building, you can go back to the site, and ducks. You can tell it's Python because it duck types. And so that's like half the story. I have 44 seconds. I'm going to show you another one. So I'm in this is the Meetup site website just downloaded. I'm just going to say structure, deploy, Meetup. It's going to say, I'm going to look, see if the app is running. It is, so I'm going to open Meetup. Whoop, whoop. Boom, nice. So for developers, it's really nice, 10 seconds. Probably won't be able to do it. To set up loads of environments. When you're developing, you want to be able to run, create, destroy, try new things in a production-like environment. So I'm just going to check out a different branch, which is like a different version of my code that I want to test out. And then I can just in the same way, deploy that. Meetup 2. And I can open that up to. So you can like treat whole environments just like code, and you can test them. You know, you can send this link to someone else to like try and look at it or figure out what's going on. You can decide. It's super easy to get to a point where you have something running and you know that you don't have to think about any of this. So really quickly, I'll move back onto the final 2 slides. My ask is right now we are in private beta. So if you are a developer or, one sec. These are backup slides if Wi-Fi is not working. If you're a developer of any sort and you're interested in trying it out and playing with it, please come talk to me afterwards. We support right now Python, Node, and static sites in Docker, but I'd be interested in talking to you if you think this is interesting. And yeah, thank you very much.
Questions for Channing?
Yep.
If developers are using your platform and then they decide they've outgrown it, or for whatever reason they want to host their app elsewhere, is their code portable? Are there like libraries they can use to make it work on more like a stack of their own?
So underneath the hood, everything is containerized. So you could take your code to another provider and run it on different hardware, but you won't necessarily get things like automatic logging, monitoring, observability, SSL, stuff like that. But yeah, sure, it's no, vendor lock-in is like pretty a thing of the past, at least in our opinion. Yeah. Trying to win on better experience. Yeah, go on.
How do you distinguish yourself from Heroku?
Oh, that's a great question. So I guess if there's like a 3 summary, right, we're cheaper, faster, and easier. So cheaper because we run on cheaper, faster servers than Heroku. They run on a layer of AWS. So you have AWS, you have AWS's hypervisor to like manage their like virtual instances. Then you have Heroku, and then their hypervisor, and then they run on those servers. And they're just slower than the ones we use and less cost effective. A lot of developers, we think, have been treated like they have no other option. And honestly, like AWS is the kind of default, so they don't actually have to, they're not inclined to do a lot better. Because they're the default.
Question over here in one.
Yeah, sure.
So how would you say like your service would like differentiate from like another service like Terraform?
Okay, so Terraform we use it. It's a really easy way to spin up hardware. So you can set up like DigitalOcean boxes or Linode boxes or something like that. But then you still have to like think about everything else. Like once you get a server, you have to still build everything else on top of that.
Yeah.
With this, you don't. You don't actually have to think about anything but your application code, and that's kind of the point of this, right? So yeah, there are use cases, definitely. I'm all for, like, if there's a specific service that's core to your idea, and you need, for example, real-time notifications, right? Don't implement it yourself, use Pusher, right? Or if you need, like, to spin up, I don't know, thousands of containers to transcode Stranger Things, yeah, sure, you can do that. But we really believe, like, for 90%, maybe even more of web applications, that's just going to slow down. That's our belief.
Other questions?
Yeah.
So if you started on a small, low traffic thing and all of a sudden you take off and it's scaling or it's seasonal, you have seasonal spikes, do you accommodate for that?
Yeah, so I guess another benefit like in really quick, there are kind of like different choices you have right now. You can go for something very serverless, or you can go for something where you kind of reserve hardware. We're sort of in the middle where we like always keep like at least one instance warm. You can say, actually, I want loads of instances warm. That means like when someone makes a request, it's ready to go. And we think like that's a basic requirement. But yeah, you can scale up really easily. Like it will auto scale for you, or you can say, I want this much. I'm expecting a funfair, and yeah.
Question in the back. So what are you using as your infrastructure? Because you sound like you...
As our infrastructure?
Yep.
We run on Linode, which is like SSD, fast SSDs, pretty modern hardware, newer than what AWS is using. They update much more frequently. So. And then we build on that, like containers and all that stuff.
Time for one more?
Yeah.
Shannon, business model, who are you going to sell to?
Who are you going to sell to? So we think it's a problem that's pretty general, but we're going to start off with smaller startups and net new projects. The reason for that is like legacy systems, like we're not really interested right now in customers running their own Java runtime. Like we'll get to that point, but right now we want to make a really good experience for someone who's starting a company who doesn't have resources to pour into like building AWS, you kind of need to hire people to manage AWS. We want to like target people who don't want to spend resources setting up that environment and can focus on like, marketing, sales, the product their users.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gotta say, I always love the live demos. Takes some courage to do that. I don't understand any of the developer ones, but I still love them. I just watch them coding away. So our next last pitch of the night is Brian Kelly with Census. Brian's a familiar face, usually hosting this. Census is IT infrastructure security startup spun out of UMich that helps professionals find and analyze every reachable server and device on the internet. And a fun fact, really relevant for this group, just over a year ago, Brian was up here asking this audience if anyone wanted to start a company together. So get ready to hear about what he ended up founding about 6 months later in the fall.
Good thing about hosting this event every month is I know how to debug the AV. So this is really fun to be pitching a company up here after hosting NewTech for a couple of years now. So thanks everybody for being out and for supporting. My name is Brian Kelly. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Census. We are a information security software startup that spun out of the University of Michigan Computer Science Department last fall. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we're going, and then I'll tell you how we got there and what our traction has been to date. So as I flip to this next slide, who has received an email in the last, let's say, year that said, your personal information has been lost and we're going to purchase a credit monitoring service for you? I'm sure it's happened to almost everyone. I could throw up a bunch of news headlines here about the latest breach du jour, but I'm going to grab just a small set of data from Verizon does this annual data breach investigation report, where they've looked at in the past year, over 50,000 security incidents and over 2,000 breaches. So the common thread that should, one of the things that's really surprising and that sets up why we as a company exist is that 1 in 5 of these breaches is caused by a mistake. So this is not somebody, insider threat or nation state or zero-day attacks or sort of all the headline grabbing stuff. These are just basic mistakes. Things like you set up a database or you set up a web server and you forgot to change the admin password. Anyone that's ever run their own blog, like on something like WordPress, has probably said, oh, how did all this graffiti get over my site after it's been running for a while? So this is not a fault of the users or IT folks. This is more, I look at this more of a fault of the security industry. So if you're seeing 1 in 5 breaches has an origin in mistakes, why is this happening and why can't we do better? So I want to take a subset of the mistake problem and boil this down even more basics in security. And this is information security specific, but this is just general, like, how am I going to secure things? Well, it's really hard to secure things if you don't know where they live. So it's cheaper than ever to stand up infrastructure wherever you want online. And that has made it easy for companies to innovate quickly, but hard to necessarily get their arms around what they have out there. A CISO at I'll call it 1,000+ person Silicon Valley software company, actually 2 of them, with apps that you've probably used on a regular basis, said,
we don't have an accurate list of our public-facing assets. We don't even have an accurate list, let alone all of our private assets. Like, we don't know, we know what our deploy scripts look like, but we don't actually know what is online and publicly exposed at any point in time. Current solution, hire really smart teams and people. This is expensive, a lot of time and money. You can do similar approaches to what we do at Census, but you still won't find everything because this requires a global perspective. So one way to think about this is, what if you could have an audit performed on your infrastructure every day? Somebody might do this once a year if they have to for compliance reasons. What if we could do it every day and it would cost less than it would once a year? So that's what the focus of Census is and where we're going. So think of this as continuous monitoring for all your assets that are online, and bringing this not just to the most sophisticated organizations, but really to anyone. Quick story of how we got here, but it's interesting and relevant, and I always find these journey stories interesting. So over 6 years ago, my co-founder and our CTO, Zakir Drumrich, along with David Adrian, I saw in the audience somewhere, started saying, let's produce more objective data around what's the impact of vulnerabilities online. To do this, they had to scan the whole internet. That was really hard to do. So they created the ZMAP project. If you go search ZMAP, you can find this as a very high-speed scanner for like a single port. So you can scan all of IPv4, so 4 billion addresses on port 80 in an hour if you have a fast enough internet connection. So that was step one, but this produced a lot of data. So step two was release not just this data, which was already cited in a lot of academic papers and was providing real value to researchers, but throw a search engine around it. And this is what Census.io is. This was released in the fall of 2015, and this made it easy for anyone to get access to the kind of scan data that Census was producing. So fast forward to a few months ago, back in late fall, we spun Census out of University of Michigan, turned it into a business, and immediately started selling the data. So we are actually monetizing today, just selling our scanned data. And this has been really useful, and it's already got a lot of traction with large enterprise customers. And so what we're doing now, and what we raised some money to do, is build Census Discover, which is the product I showed you a preview of the value prop for. It's the founding team. It's a mix of myself and my co-founder, David Corcoran. We ran a company before that was acquired by Symantec. I was at Duo at the early days, which is where I met David when he was an undergrad intern. And Zakir and Alex Hollerman is the professor here that was the PI on the research. Traction so far, we have 5,000 monthly active users. We get around 100 signups per day. This is obviously way more than researchers, and of our paying customers that are currently buying, not even what I described to you in the initial pitch, paying us somewhere between $100 a month and $10,000 a month in some cases for access to this data. I am realizing now how hard it is to give a pitch in 5 minutes, so I will fly through a lot of this. Quick plug to something we released today, which is database servers online. There's over 4.7 MySQL servers publicly on the internet. Go check out our blog and you can see what their IP addresses are. So my asks, we actually, I'm pleased to announce that we have closed our seed round of funding. So we raised several $1 million that closed in the last 30 days. So woohoo. Now I'm going to put it to work. So we're hiring a bunch of people. Primarily right now, it's all software engineers. We have a really interesting set of problems to solve. So if you are into large data sets, network scanning, or figuring out the hard problem of actually presenting this information in a usable way on the web, I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you happen to know anyone who works in the, let's say, Southeast Michigan, anywhere it's in like travel range that happens to work at a company with at least 500 employees, customer discovery never stops, so I would welcome those introductions. Thank you. All right, who's going to grill me?
No, Brian Kelly, your chance now. Questions? Uh-oh.
Just out of curiosity, is the IP that you create belong to
the university since you spun it out, or do you guys get to control that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think these questions about the journey are super relevant. So we work with the Office of Tech Transfer to do an exchange of ownership of the IP that was created around this in exchange for equity in the company. So it's owned by, was Z Corp Technology, now it's Census Inc., and the university also has an ability to continue to invest in the company as we raise more funding in the future.
How do you guys differentiate from services like evidence.io that'll scan your configuration for security flaws?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So there's a vulnerability assessment market or configuration assessment, like the person was mentioning in the question. We don't go, so we look at it this way. Those tools can go really deep in inspecting vulnerabilities that your application might have, but they don't go really broad. So you can think of it, before we even do any kind of inspection, the real value we're providing is just the discovery. The service is somewhere online and it's associated with your organization. And then secondarily, we're looking at, I love the poverty line reference. So we talk about security poverty line, raising the security poverty line and saying that what version of a service are you using? Sometimes that's all you need to know to increase your security to make you not the easiest target for an attacker. So think of us compared to vulnerability assessment as like we're doing the discovery part and giving you a basic uplift on your hygiene so you don't look as bad as the next person that an attacker is going to try to go after.
Could this be used by hackers to advance their means?
It almost certainly is. So here's the thing. Everything that we're doing, we're publicly observing services online. Anyone can stand this up. You don't even have to use our service to do that. And so I'll share a story that, some folks, another way to look at this is like, well, people block our service from scanning them. And we say, somebody contacts us, stop scanning our network, and we say, listen, the same thing we're doing, which is very light and not aggressive scanning, is the same thing attackers are doing. So you could go ahead and block us, but somebody else, it's very easy for them to approximate these same techniques. As far as how we're vetting our users, that's a really hard problem. It's one we'll have to tackle at some point. But right now, we look at it as we're making this data available, and we're not in the business of vetting the individual users on the service.
Oh, so you got to sort of look out for Russian customers, right?
Yeah, I mean, so fraudulent usage, I guess, is an issue. But again, like with the service we're doing, you don't need us. Those types of users could go and maybe do some of the scanning on their own. And we're not actually doing any deep inspection into these services. We're just giving a correlation of, hey, we think this asset belongs to your organization. We're not saying maybe how it's vulnerable by chance.
How do you do the connection between I found a random asset like on the web and I think it belongs to IBM?
Yeah, so this is where the non-open source part of our business comes in. There's some very common techniques that have been used by, let's say, penetration testers for years to discover, let me see what host names might be associated with you, who might be like squatting on a related host name. So I guess I can say, put simply, if you provide us a domain name, we can do a lot with that by just incorporating DNS data combined with our scan data.
Okay. One last question. Back. So I was trying to understand who's your key customer. What is the value proposition?
Yeah, the value proposition is to really any company that has enough change going on in their infrastructure that they don't know if they're catching all the changes in their environment. And we provide a way for them to get an internet global visibility to understand what relevant to their company might be publicly exposed on the internet. And that's relevant to even one person security team in a 1,000-person company. Because right now, to go and answer that question. It's very time consuming and expensive without a service like Census.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you saying that, so you mentioned that they don't have a very good grasp of the assets that they have, so are you saying that you provide a public database of vulnerabilities and things that are the result of scanning many servers on the internet? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so step one of it is just to attribute this service probably belongs to your organization. Just stay on that for a minute. That is a core problem that's not solved today. Knowing, did the marketing team stand up a service to do lead capture in some cloud platform or some brand new platform as a service startup that might have our digital certificate and look legit online, but we, IT, did not bless that business unit to go and stand up that service. So you can think of us as a proxy to close that gap. Like you have policy and then you have reality. So you have the firewall policy and then like, what is it actually being enforced? We're kind of a way to unit test your firewall rules.
Excellent.
Cool.
Thanks, Brian. Great work to all our presenters tonight. Thank you for your pitches. We're going to transition to community announcements at this point. So if you have a meetup or an event, position you're hiring for, if you're looking for a job or looking for a collaborator, go ahead and line up right along here, right by the whiteboard, and you can make your 1 to 2 minute pitch for your announcement right up here.
I'm just going to shut down the projector for us.
Good job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm introducing a new hotel business in town. It's called Sonesta ES Suites. And the reason I mention that is even entrepreneurs have to sleep.
Hi, my name is Andrew Yang, and I'm the head of Gaudium. We are a game development startup focused on anime-style aesthetic, and right now we're looking for a new Unity developer to help grow our business.
Hi, I'm Betsy. I'm here with Ann Arbor Health Hacks. Our upcoming annual medical hackathon is this coming weekend with the kind of opening ceremony on the Friday the 22nd, and then starting Saturday morning through Sunday afternoon is the event. I have flyers if anyone is interested. The main topic is resources in low-income areas with a special track for individuals transitioning into independence, individuals with disabilities. So if you're interested, please see me after, or Josephine in the back also has a shirt the same color. So, thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Qasim. I'm the CEO of PlanOMX, which is a crypto investment platform that connects you and your family and your friends and influencers to make better investment decisions. We're looking for user interviews. We're on our second design prototype. That is all.
Hi, I'm David Hall. I'm here to invite you to a convergence that's coming up on the 30th of this month. It's a permaculture convergence. I wanted to bring some guests into a new environment tonight, so I brought thousands of archaea underneath my fingernails. I was in the most beautiful soil underneath the crabapple tree today, and part of what I do in this world is try to bridge the disconnect between technology and nature. I work with permaculture. I do a lot of organic horticulture, gardening, farming, land use management, and I'm here to invite you all to participate in this healing process of overcoming this damage that's been done to our planet. We have a lot of power in the room here, and this is an event to bring people together to facilitate this. We need some help in doing some podcasts, doing some live broadcasting, some kind of fun stuff around the edges. If you're interested, you can contact me at innerouterservices@gmail.com. I'll be hanging around. I have a few flyers.
What is the event?
The event is a permaculture convergence. You can look it up, Ann Arbor Permaculture Convergence on Facebook. It's a day of speakers, local, coming from 5 different states, to experts on sustainability and the design science of permaculture. If you're not familiar with that, you may be familiar with biomimicry, you may be familiar with other terms associated. Look it up. It's a fascinating and wonderful movement that's happening that you're an important part of, whether or not you realize it. So connect with me, show up at the event. It's going to be pretty interesting. If you want to help out doing some broadcasting, podcasting, some technical stuff, I welcome you. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Scott Gosey and I got a couple events, so I'm going to go a little fast. One, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, if you like the startups and you say to yourself, I want to build myself one of those, it may take a little bit of programming skills. And in order to learn those programming skills, come on out to the Ann Arbor Coffee House Coders. We're on meetup.com as well. You can find us. We teach people how to code. We have a good time. We are social, us programmers, so come on out and we'll prove it to you. Secondly, if you need co-working space and you're a startup, well, the Tech Brewery is the place for you. Now, we filled up today, so you can't actually be a member today, but next Friday we'll have a mixer. It's the end of the month, Beer 30, so come on by with beers and stories of entrepreneurship, and we'd be glad to have you there. Thanks, and I'll also put this on Meetup as well, so if you get too drunk tonight at Dom's, you'll find it later. So.
I'm Brooke. I'm the founder of Engage, and my target market is newcomers to Ann Arbor and the highly connected in Ann Arbor. I run something called the Connector Program, which helps lower that threshold for people who are new to the area to figure out what is happening in Ann Arbor and what's the next step for me. And kind of ancillary benefit of that is when people are on the job market, we kind of know who's looking and who might be hiring if the right talent showed up. So tomorrow morning we have a ridiculous number of people that are going to show up at Avalon. At 8:30 in the morning until 10 is when we'll be there. And that's just kind of coffee, community coffee. So it's a time for you to meet some other people in Ann Arbor that don't look like you or smell like you, that are looking for a way to participate in Ann Arbor and support people who are looking for a way to really make this place a place that they belong and that they matter. So Avalon on Liberty between 8:30 and 10. I'd love to see you there. So.
Excellent. Well, that concludes our community announcements. Thanks for everyone who pitched and announced. Our next Ann Arbor UTech meetup is Tuesday, July 17th. So mark your calendars. Write it in your planner. Next month, we already have Dear Black Women is confirmed to be pitching. They're an affirmation movement and social network for Black women. And then we have other spots that are open for you or someone you know. So again, email us at organizers@a2newtech.org if you have ideas for that or if you'd like to pitch. August 21st is reserved for companies from the Desai Accelerator. So that'll be really great. Companies are going through their accelerator program right now. And so they'll be pitching 5 of those next month. And in August, we're going to be here in this room again. So South Hall, room 1225 for July and August. Again, you can find us in the meantime on madeina2.com/Slack and madeina2.com. Contact us with your pitch if you have any suggestions, and we'll see you at Dominic's after this. It is 21 plus, and so make sure you bring an ID if you're coming. Enjoy some pizza, courtesy of Ann Arbor Spark, and meet some people. Thanks, everybody.
So Brian brought